When I stepped out of the taxi, the air felt wrong. The house was quiet, too quiet. The same driveway where Dad taught me to ride a bike was now lined with cardboard boxes. My clothes, my photo frames, even the childhood diary I hid behind my bookshelf, dumped beside the trash cans, soaked in rain. Froze. "Mom," I whispered. No answer. Then I saw the for sale sign in the front yard. Already stamped sold. A strange car was parked in the driveway, and through the window, I saw a family eating dinner at my table. My parents weren't inside. But taped to one of the boxes was a folded note. My name on it. Just one line inside. "You'll understand someday. Mom and Dad." And that's where everything I believed about family ended. I stood there for what felt like forever. Just me, the boxes, and the whispering rain. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold the note. I read it again, hoping I'd missed something. Some clue, some apology, anything. But there was nothing except those 6 cold words. "You'll understand someday. Mom and Dad." Understand what? I pressed my palm against the wet cardboard, trying to breathe. My textbooks were inside, warped and soggy. My clothes clung together like wet seaweed. Everything I owned, everything I'd worked for. Thrown out like trash. Across the street, Mrs. Langley, our neighbor, peeked from behind her curtains. When I caught her eye, she stepped outside hesitantly, clutching a shawl. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, shaking her head. "They moved out last week. Said you wouldn't be coming back." Wouldn't be coming back. I was at university, I stammered. "Just for the semester. Why would they think I'm not coming back?" She looked away. "Your father mentioned something about new beginnings. They didn't say much else. Just sold the place real quick. Packed up, left in the middle of the night." Her voice faded into the hum of rain. The middle of the night. That wasn't my parents. They weren't spontaneous people. They argued for days about what movie to watch. And now they'd sold our house like it was nothing. My fingers brushed against one of the open boxes, and something sharp pricked me. I looked down. It was a broken photo frame. The glass was cracked across my smiling face, from the day I'd left for university. Mom's arm was around me in the picture, her eyes bright with pride. I wiped the rain off the glass. My reflection stared back, blurred and hollow. That was the moment I felt it. Not just confusion but betrayal. Inside another box, I found my childhood diary. Pages bloated from water. My handwriting still neat and young. On the last page before I'd left for school I'd written, "No matter what happens, Mom and Dad are my home." My chest hurt so badly I wanted to scream. Instead I knelt down, ripping open box after box. Old school trophies. My grandmother's teacup. Even the quilt my mom had sewn during the winter I'd been sick. All of it dumped carelessly. Then, under a stack of clothes, I saw an envelope. Thick, sealed with tape. My name written in my mother's handwriting. My heart jumped. Maybe this was the explanation. Maybe she'd tell me what went wrong. I tore it open. Inside was a legal document. Property sale contract. My breath caught as my eyes raced across the lines. The seller's name. Sailor Marie Carter. Name. My full name. And right beneath it a signature. My signature. Except it wasn't mine. The loop of the S was wrong. The pen pressure heavier, mechanical. Someone had forged my name. My throat went dry. They wouldn't, I whispered to myself. But deep down I knew they would. Lightning flashed, and for a split second, I saw my reflection in the window. Wide eyes, drenched hair, shaking. Not a daughter. Not a victim. A ghost of someone erased. My mind raced. If they forged my signature, someone helped them. Someone who knew enough to make it legal. I scanned the bottom of the document. There it was, the notary's stamp. Certified by Cliff Warren. My dad's oldest friend. The man who used to call me kiddo and bring lemon pie every Sunday. I felt the ground tilt beneath me. If Cliff had signed this, then it wasn't just betrayal. It was conspiracy. Sailor grips the paper, rain soaking the ink. Her phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. You're not supposed to know yet. Dad's oldest friend. The man who'd watched me grow up, who'd sat at our table for every Thanksgiving, laughing with his booming voice and telling stories about his fishing trips. He was practically family. I wiped the ink-smudged signature with my thumb, heart hammering. My parents might have lied, but Cliff. He'd always been the one who told me to never let anyone steal your future. And now, he was the one who'd stamped away mine. I called him right there on the curb, rain still falling in cold sheets. It rang 5 times before he picked up. Cliff, it's Sailor. There was silence. Then a cautious, almost frightened voice. Sailor? You're not supposed to call me. That phrase. Not supposed to call me. My stomach twisted. What are you talking about? My parents sold my house. My name's on the sale papers, and you notarized them. He let out a long, heavy sigh. I was told you approved it, sweetheart. Your dad showed me a video. You were sitting in your dorm, confirming the sale. Froze. A video? Yeah. You said you understood that it was to cover a loan. You even mentioned me by name. Cliff, I whispered, voice trembling. I never made that video. Static filled the line. He spoke again, quieter now. Then you need to leave town, Sailor. Forget this. There's more to it than you know. Forget this. My life is in those boxes. I shouted, but he'd already hung up. The rain slowed to a drizzle. My reflection in the puddles looked like someone else entirely. Someone smaller, someone who just realized how deep betrayal could go. Back in my motel room that night, I couldn't sleep. I played every memory of Cliff and my parents over in my head. Birthdays, barbecues, graduation day. Had they been planning this all along? My phone buzzed again. A new message. Unknown number. Don't trust anyone. Check your mother's email drafts. No name. No explanation. For a moment I thought it was a cruel prank. But curiosity clawed at me harder than fear. I still had access to Mom's old email. She used the same password for everything. Honeybee 1970. I logged in and there it was. An unsent draft titled, If Sailor Ever Finds Out. My pulse thudded in my ears. The email had been saved 2 months ago, around the same time the sale had happened. I clicked it open, breath trembling. We had no choice. The house was never really hers. We needed the money before the bank came for us. I scrolled further down. Paragraphs filled with panic and excuses. She'll hate us, but at least her tuition's safe. My stomach turned. Tuition. They'd taken something in my name. Maybe a loan. Maybe more. I slammed the laptop shut, my reflection flickering in the screen's dark glass. What did you do, Mom? I whispered. And then, something clicked in the corner of the screen. A small, blinking attachment icon next to the draft. Video file. Titled simply, Proof.mp4. Press play. The video opened with my face on the screen. Same hair, same voice, even the same silver pendant around my neck. But I hadn't filmed this. Hi, this is Sailor Carter, the video version of me said. I agree to the sale of my property at 214 Brookside Lane. The funds will be used for family debts and education. Felt sick. Every blink, every tone perfectly me. But it wasn't. Paused and zoomed in. The background wasn't my dorm. It was my old bedroom, the one my parents had packed up. Someone had recorded me there. Maybe spliced old clips together, maybe used deepfake tech. My parents had faked my consent. But why? I replayed Mom's email. The house was never really hers. That sentence echoed in my skull. I opened another file folder linked to her account, one marked Documents, Private. Inside were loan agreements, all in my name. My credit number. My signature. It hit me all at once. They'd taken out loans under my identity. Dozens. Small amounts spread across different lenders. And when they defaulted, they'd used the house as collateral. They'd turned their daughter into their cover story. My heart pounded as I read one of the lender emails. Your next payment is due. If you're unable to continue, The property will be seized. And beneath it, a transfer receipt for $48,000. From Hale Holdings, LLC. Who was Hale Holdings? My laptop pinged with another incoming email. From the same unknown number as before. Now you know the half of it. Meet me at the diner on Oak Street. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Come alone. Every instinct screamed no. Could be dangerous. But something about that message, the precision, the timing, told me whoever sent it knew everything. The next morning I barely slept. The diner was the same one Mom used to take me to after Sunday church. When I walked in, it smelled of burnt coffee and grease, exactly as I remembered. A woman waved me over from the corner booth. She looked mid-40s, tired eyes, hair pulled into a bun. "Sailor," she said softly. "I'm Evelyn. I used to work with your mother." Froze mid-step. "Work with her? At the library?" She shook her head. "No, dear. Not the library. At Hale Holdings." I felt my breath leave my body. Evelyn opened her purse and slid a photo across the table. My mother standing beside a man in a gray suit, smiling too confidently. "That's Richard Hale," Evelyn said quietly. "Your Mom's business partner. But he's more than that. He's a real estate predator. He finds families in debt, convinces them to sell property under their kids' names. Then he flips the homes, leaving everyone broke, except himself." My fingers trembled as I stared at the photo. "So, they sold it for him?" She nodded. "For him, and for the promise that you'd be set for life." I wanted to laugh, but tears came instead. Set for life. I don't even have a place to sleep. Evelyn placed a manila folder on the table. Inside were payment records. $480,000 wired to Richard Hale. $40,000 to your parents. "They didn't sell your house to save it, sailor," she whispered. "They sold you out to survive." My fingers curled into fists. That was the moment I stopped crying. I wasn't a victim anymore. "I'm getting my house back," I said quietly. Evelyn met my gaze. "Then you'll need to play their game and beat them at it." Evelyn and I sat in that diner until the neon lights flickered off. By the time we left, the rain had started again. But this time I wasn't afraid of getting wet. She'd given me everything. Bank transfers, notarized copies, screenshots of messages between my parents and Richard Hale. The trail was dirty and long, but it was proof. Back at my motel, I spread the files across the bed. My name appeared everywhere. Signed, stamped, sold. If they'd turned me into paperwork, I'd turn that paperwork into a weapon. The next morning I walked into the local records office. The clerk raised an eyebrow. "You the Carter girl?" "Not anymore," I said, sliding the folder across the counter. "I'm the owner of 214 Brookside Lane. And here's why that sale is illegal." By noon, the city attorney had called me in. He listened quietly as I explained the forged video, the falsified signatures, and the fake company under Hale Holdings. He didn't promise miracles, but he gave me something better. An official case number. That night, I started a blog called My Parents Sold My House. I posted every document Evelyn had shown me, line by line. Within 24 hours, the post exploded. Shared, commented, dissected by lawyers, journalists, even victims of the same man. People began sending me stories, screenshots, recordings. I wasn't alone anymore. Then, as I scrolled through messages, one email stopped me cold. From RH. Subject: "You should have stayed quiet." Body: "Last warning, sailor. Accidents happen." My hands trembled, but only for a second. I hit reply. "Thanks for confirming your identity, Mr. Hale. The police will love this." I stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Dad's handwriting, slanted, impatient, covered the front. Inside was a single page. "We didn't do it for us, sailor. We did it for you. For me." He went on. "Richard promised he'd erase your student loans, pay your tuition in full. We thought we were protecting you. But we were fools. No signature. No address. Just guilt on paper. Evelyn arrived minutes later, waving her phone. "It's happening," she said breathlessly. The police raided Hale's office. They found fake contracts. Dozens of them. "He's under arrest." I sank onto the bed. "It's over." "Almost," she said. "They still need your testimony." At the courthouse, my voice didn't shake once. I showed them the forged video, the payments, the email threats. For the first time, I wasn't the frightened girl on the driveway. I was the witness who'd burned every lie down. 2 weeks later, the verdict came in. Richard Hale, guilty. Sentence, 10 years. As for my parents, the prosecutor decided not to charge them. They'd lost everything anyway. Their savings, their reputation, their home. I thought I'd feel relief, but mostly I felt hollow. Betrayal doesn't vanish with justice. It just stops bleeding. I stood on the same driveway where it all began. Except now, there were no boxes. Just silence and memory. The grass had grown taller. The mailbox leaned sideways. And the echoes of my childhood felt like ghosts clinging to the walls. Mom was waiting near the porch. Her face looked older, thinner, her eyes rimmed with guilt. When she handed me a small metal key, her hands shook. "This belongs to you," she whispered. "We can't undo what we did, sailor. But at least take back what's left." I didn't speak. Words felt pointless now. I walked through the door and inhaled the scent. Dust, rain, old coffee. Memories slammed into me like waves. The living room was empty, but I could still see Dad sitting in his chair, laughing at the evening news. My throat tightened. "You ruined everything," I said quietly, not to anyone, just to the walls that once held our lives together. When I reached my room, sunlight cut through the blinds, landing on something I didn't expect. A photograph taped to the wall. It was me, age 7, holding Mom's hand, both of us smiling. On the back, written in her handwriting, were 4 words. "You were our reason." That night I locked the door behind me. Not as a farewell but as a boundary. Some doors stay closed forever. Evelyn's expression was unreadable. "It came to my office this morning," she said, handing me the envelope. He wrote it before his arrest. Tore it open. Inside was a single handwritten note. "Dear sailor, you were never supposed to find out. Your parents were desperate, and I only offered them what they wanted. A way out. But they betrayed me too. The money's gone. Someone else took it." My pulse quickened. Someone else. Attached was a receipt, dated just 3 days before his arrest. A $90,000 wire transfer made to a new account under my father's name. I stared at Evelyn. "He took money after all this." She nodded grimly. "It means he's still alive, sailor. And he's running." I felt my knees weaken. My father hadn't died. Mom lied again. Why? That night I couldn't sleep. I replayed every conversation, every look Mom had given me. Guilt, yes, but also fear. Fear of something bigger than me. Was Richard really the mastermind? Or was he just another pawn in a game my parents had started? The next morning I checked my voicemail. There was one new message, an unfamiliar male voice whispering, "If you want answers, meet me where it all began." Midnight. Alone. The cabin sat deep in the woods, its roof sagging, porch lights dead. The only sound was the chirp of crickets and the echo of my heartbeat. I parked the car and stepped out with a flashlight. The air smelled of damp wood and rust. Every step creaked. Inside, the furniture was covered in sheets, cobwebs glinting in the beam of my light. And then I saw movement. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Dad! He looked thinner, exhausted, but alive. His eyes glistened with shame. "I didn't fake my death, sailor. Your mother did that for you, to keep you safe." Safe from what? He sat heavily in the old chair, face in his hands. "From Hale's partners. They wanted you next. They thought you knew where the money went." My breath caught. "So, it's not over." He shook his head. "There's another man, someone who financed the entire scheme. If Hale's in prison, they'll come for you now." A chill raced down my spine. "Who is it?" He lifted his head slowly. Your godfather. Cliff Warren. The room spun. My father's old friend. The same man who told me to leave town. The door creaked open. Don't move, a voice said, deep and steady. Cliff stepped inside, his silhouette framed by moonlight. He looked older but calm, like a man who'd already accepted what was coming. Hello, kiddo, he said softly. You were always too smart for your own good. Dad stood up. Cliff, stop this. She doesn't know anything. Cliff smiled. She knows enough. He turned to me. You were never supposed to dig that deep, sailor. The house sale wasn't the end. It was the beginning. The Hale deal was a test. And you just passed it. My heart pounded. A test for what? To see if you could handle what's next. He tossed a folder on the table. Inside were property deeds, offshore accounts, and documents with my name already printed on them. You're going to sign these, take the assets, and disappear, he said. Or I'll finish what Hale started. I met his gaze, voice steady. I'm done signing things I don't understand. Before he could react, Dad lunged. The gun went off once, shattering glass. Cliff stumbled back, clutching his arm, and fled into the night. Blood soaked my father's shirt. He smiled weakly through the pain. I'm sorry, baby. I thought I could fix it before it reached you. Don't talk, I whispered, pressing my hand against the wound. We'll get help. But he shook his head. No time. Listen, the money, they used it to buy silence. People high up, politicians. Cliff was just a messenger. The files. They're in the cabin's floorboards. You can end it. Tears blurred my vision. I don't want revenge, Dad. I just want peace. He squeezed my hand one last time. Then make sure no one else gets hurt. When I looked up again, he was gone. I dug under the floorboards until I found a waterproof box. Inside were drives, ledgers, and names. Dozens of them. Proof of everything. By dawn, police cars surrounded the cabin. Cliff was arrested miles away, bleeding but alive. I handed over the box. It's all here, I said, my voice steady. The envelope was thin, too light for the weight it carried. Inside was one folded sheet, stained at the corner. In Cliff's sharp handwriting it said, You won, kiddo. Just like I wanted you to. But don't fool yourself. This game isn't over. Look deeper. My stomach twisted. Beneath the note, taped to the bottom of the envelope, was a tiny silver flash drive. Evelyn leaned closer. What is that? I don't know, I whispered. My hands shook as I plugged it into my laptop. The screen flickered. Videos. Dozens of them. Hidden recordings. Meetings, calls, voices. In one clip, my father sat across from Cliff and Richard Hale, signing papers. His voice steady. She'll never know. We'll tell her the house is gone. By the time she finds out, we'll have tripled the money. Froze. The air left my lungs. My father's betrayal wasn't accidental. He hadn't been desperate. He'd been greedy. Everything, the forged signature, the fake guilt letter, the I did it for you, was part of his cover. Evelyn gasped. He lied to you, sailor. He was in on it until the end. I scrolled through another file, dated the night before his supposed death. In it, Dad was speaking to someone on a burner phone. If anything happens to me, make sure the girl never gets that money. She's too much like her mother. Too smart to obey. My throat tightened. He planned everything. Even his own disappearance. Evelyn's voice broke the silence. Then why come back to the cabin? I shook my head slowly. Because he thought he could still win. He came to finish the story, on his terms. Felt cold all over. My entire life had been built on layers of deceit. And now every illusion was stripped bare. My mother wasn't the helpless victim I thought. My father wasn't the broken man seeking redemption. They'd both played the game until it consumed them. Tears welled up, but they didn't fall. I'd already cried enough for all of us. I'm done living in their lies, I whispered. The next morning I took the drive straight to the authorities. The detectives were stunned. The recordings didn't just expose my father and Cliff. It revealed names of investors, real estate officials, even a sitting congressman. The fraud was bigger than any of us imagined. 3 months later, the entire ring collapsed. Headlines screamed, "Multi-million-dollar property scam uncovered. Whistleblower daughter exposes hidden empire." People called me brave. Some called me a liar. But I didn't care. Truth has a way of burning through everything. Louder than denial, brighter than guilt. When the dust settled, they asked what I wanted done with the recovered assets. Nearly $1.3 million. I didn't keep a penny. Half went to the victims' fund. The rest to a scholarship program for students of financial fraud victims. Because I knew what it felt like to have your name stolen, your trust shattered, your identity rewritten. Evelyn came to visit me one evening at my small coastal home. The sea wind blew through open windows, carrying peace with it. She smiled gently. "You really ended it, didn't you?" I nodded, staring at the horizon. "No. I just refused to let it end me." She handed me one more envelope, this time from my mother. It had been mailed weeks after the trials ended. Inside was a short letter, trembling handwriting. "You were right, sailor. We lost ourselves chasing safety. You found truth instead. I'm proud. Even if you never forgive me." For the first time I didn't feel anger. Just finality. Some stories don't end with forgiveness. They end with freedom. That night I walked down to the beach barefoot. The waves lapped at my feet, cold but cleansing. The moon hung heavy above the water, silver and silent. I buried the last letter in the sand and whispered, "You were my past. But I am my own future now." As the tide rolled in, washing it away, I smiled. Not because I'd won, but because I finally understood. They took everything from me, my home, my trust, my family. But they couldn't take me.